All right. How's it going, guys? Welcome to the Storyworks podcast. I am your host, Zach Gosen.
I'm your co-host, Andrew Hall.
And today, we are in yet another kind of shifting mode.
We're in the back rooms.
We're in the back rooms. This is just a different location, you know.
It's level 23.
Exactly.
Find us here and there, you know.
Just kidding, it's my house.
Yeah. We're shifting kind of studio spaces just for a little bit, just a temporary thing. So if we sound a little bit different, look a little bit different, that's why.
Welcome to the last bastion of hope.
Oh my God. You know what? That's a pretty heavy sentence you laid on me. We are talking heavy material today.
Oh yeah.
Weird though, because it's such a interesting way to look at it. We're talking about the Midnight Gospel.
Yes.
We good?
Yeah.
We saw that beautiful arm come in.
Good old.
A rare Davis cameo. Nobody
There
ever
he
sees
is.
any of him.
I know.
We saw his arm.
Everybody wants to hear him.
Of course. Now you got a little glimpse. He just likes to give you a little bit, just a tiny bit.
Just little bits and pieces.
It's all about the mystery.
But yeah, so we're talking the Midnight Gospel.
Crazy fucking show that came out in 2020.
We're getting meta. We're talking about we are a podcast talking about a show that incorporates elements from a podcast into the show.
Compact it all together. We had to talk about it. What a fucking cool concept. I haven't heard of anything else that's done that before.
Yeah, it's very unique to me, and it's a very cool way, I think, to like grab people who normally otherwise wouldn't listen to podcasts.
Yeah, for sure. Most definitely.
Some people just don't have the time to listen to episode 826 of the Joe Rogan Experience.
Yeah, dude, no, for real. Yeah.
You know, so to have the Midnight Gospel kind of clip down interviews
To those highlighted key moments.
Yeah.
And
put it in
difficult
like
task.
a crazy animation.
Yeah.
You know, Pendleton Ward, Adventure Time God.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely like a legend in animation, for sure.
Yeah. Just he puts his wacky spin on it all too.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
it just works together so well. It's very good.
I feel like, I don't know if you agree with this, but it's like Pendleton Ward boiled down to his like most raw.
Oh
like,
yeah, most definitely. you get to see him
do whatever he wants.
do stuff that he otherwise would not be doing.
Yeah.
Like definitely some stuff you would never see on Adventure Time.
No, it's super, very adult. But still, you can see that linkage to how he would go from Adventure Time, The Misadventures of Flapjack, which is a weird motherfucking show, dude.
That show is just
Wow.
That's-
Being a child and actually watching that on TV.
living through
So
the
weird.
Misadventures of Flapjack, dude.
Yeah. But he's been bound by like Cartoon Network and having to don't get me wrong, he has stretched
he's
the
made some great
boundaries.
stuff.
He's definitely like Adventure Time gets fucking weird.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's still it's still grounded in the fact that it's a show that's kind of for kids.
Oh,
and it's on a kids network.
Oh, for sure. Like they get kind
This
of
is-
heavy.
Yeah.
But it's still through the lens of like, you know, children's animation.
Yeah. It's still, that's the selective audience. So there's going to be boundaries. There's going to be restraints when it comes to creativity. This is like the complete opposite for him.
Oh yeah, no, he was just given free reign to do whatever he wanted.
I mean, yeah, no, he approached Duncan Trussells, who is the voice of Clancy, the main character in the show, about his podcast. He really liked his podcast, and he said, you know, what if we put some visuals to this, which is just so fucking cool.
It's very, very cool.
And I don't know how just think about how hard it had to have been to structure this take all of those, like, he had to pick
clips.
like your favorite episodes of your podcast, and it's been a pretty long running podcast. I don't know how many episodes he's got.
Okay.
But to have such a broad spectrum to choose from for just 8 episodes?
Yeah.
20 to 35.
I was gonna say, yeah, I think it's anywhere from like 24 to, I think the longest episode is
The last
36
one.
minutes.
Yeah. So it's just cool. It's really admirable, really inspirational for sure. Stop walking around.
It's like,
Freak. Nah, you're good.
Yeah.
And I love that they even have the interviewer, the people that they're taking these clips from.
Yeah.
They'll make comments about like the animation that they're in. You know,
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I think of the first episode with the
Dr.
Charisma
Drew.
Man. Yeah,
Yeah.
Dr. Drew. And he's having this deep discussion about drugs
Yeah.
and the opioid crisis.
Yeah.
And
For sure.
it's interspersed with him killing zombies, and he's commenting on the fact that he's killing zombies, or he's like locked up
Yeah.
in like the bunker, and he's very short, and he's trying to play pool,
Yeah.
and he's like,
Yeah.
or like his butler comes up to him and starts talking to him, and he like
Right.
slaps him or tells him to go get something for him in the middle of like talking.
Yeah.
And then he'll just go right back
into this deep,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know,
And I'm
philosophical
just like,
conversation.
how do you do that?
Yeah.
Like, do you have this like a skit planned in your head almost
Right.
when you're like recording the episode, or was that like done in post and they brought
Yeah.
like they asked him to like come back and record some extra lines maybe? I don't
That's how it ended up happening. It's like
Okay.
I think that they selected certain clips of the podcast. They had to have been like, okay, this is what we have to make sense. Now we need to write these little interconnective pieces of the episode to bring it all together. So like when he makes comments, like he's on top of the White House shooting zombies
Yeah.
and shit while they're having this conversation.
When he's waving at when he saves the person and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, Mr. President, hey,
Yeah,
thank you,
yeah.
thank you," and he's like, "Hello."
Yeah, dude, I just fucking love it.
Hello.
And that's super Pendleton Ward.
Oh, absolutely.
That's very Adventure Time. It just fits that vibe. So it's really cool. It's just fucking cool
Oh,
how this thing
absolutely.
came together. So I guess I'll read off a description of the show for anybody who's listened up to this point and is like, what the fuck are you talking
What
about?
is the Midnight Gospel?
So we kind of got into like the technicalities of it and like what it is in that aspect. But here's a little synopsis. A spacecaster traverses trippy worlds inside his universe simulator, exploring existential questions about life, death, and everything in between. Holy shit. Yeah. No, that's about it.
And that's pretty much it.
I don't even know how to describe, but it feels like there was so much world building that went into this
Yeah, I mean,
to bring it together, from podcast to show about a space cast.
it's like a show about a space cast. There's like, you know, the universe simulator.
Yeah.
They build characters in the world that they'll call back to.
Yeah, which is really cool.
There's like an overarching plot about like Clancy stole money from his sister in order to
Yeah.
buy the universe simulator so he
Yeah.
can start his space cast.
Yeah, and he's just like, there's voicemails. Like, you never really see her, but you hear voicemails from her, like,
And she's like, I'm not
you do
even
with that
mad at
money?
you.
Yeah.
So like at the first time she's like, dude, this is fucked up. But
Yeah.
then like she calls him later on in the show and she's like, I love you. You're still my brother.
yeah,
I understand why you did it.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. And then he still like is mad.
yeah. Yeah, no, Clancy's a really interesting character. I don't really know how to describe him because, again, when you think about this show, you have to think about the fact that it's completely built around a pre-existing
Yeah.
pre-existing
Podcast.
conversations.
Yeah.
Which makes it more challenging and more unique to view, I think. So like they add like a beginning to each episode. You got to start it off.
Yeah.
And then he ends up picking a world. He's got this computer. I love his relationship with computer.
Hello, master.
Hello, master. Yeah, he's just a dick. He just
What
Clancy's
world
kind of a
will you
dick
be
to him.
visiting today?
Yeah.
And then he's like, Master, I sent you the Universe Simulator, FAQ.
Yeah, and he's like, fuck that.
Does not take care of him at all.
He's very just uncaring in general. which makes for a fun show,
Yeah.
and for a fun character. But then he gets into these crazy philosophical discussions, with these people in these different universes. So after they have the beginning of an episode, they move on to him diving into the simulation.
He gets like an avatar for each world that
which
he goes
is fun
to.
as fuck. They're always weird as shit. And I love the music that hits when he's like
When he
kicking
launches,
off, and it's like 80s, like super good. Definitely hits the simulation theme.
Oh yeah.
And then he always goes to like a dying world. Where
Yeah,
these
that's the thing.
crazy things are always
It's always
happening.
like a world on the verge of collapse.
Yeah, which is so fucking cool. So you're just seeing these world-ending events happening also while you're trying to listen to these crazy discussions.
It's insane.
I wouldn't be surprised if he had part in the soundtrack because he does analog synthesizers himself. Like he has
Pendleton
one built.
Ward? Or Duncan Trussells?
Duncan Trussells.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
like that's his like hobby is synthesizers.
Well, they definitely
I was gonna say,
include those kind of synthesizers.
at the end,
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he was a part of
Yeah.
those type of shit.
very cool.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, the music is just so good in general.
Yeah,
all of it.
It definitely
And
is.
it also has that Pendleton Ward vibe to it as well.
Yeah.
In the sense of it's like nonsense lyrics almost.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he'll just start singing a song or whatever. I heard Duncan talking about that when he went on Dr. Drew's podcast.
Oh,
So
nice.
Dr. Drew's got a podcast.
Nice.
And
They're cross-pollinated.
they're cross-podding. And he talked about Pendleton getting a hold of him because Pendleton's the one who had the idea. Oh, fuck, dude.
Oh, you just lost it?
Yeah, what? Okay.
No, we were talking about Dr. Drew
Dr. Drew
and Clancy.
and Clancy.
And how I was talking about the songs.
We were talking
and how-
the songs. Okay, yeah. Pendleton, like Duncan talked about Pendleton pushing him in ways that he wouldn't think of before. Not like pushing, but like giving him new ideas for the show and stuff. Like he's like, I would have never thought to just like sing a little song in every episode, but Pendleton was like, let's go for it, dude.
Let's
Just
do
do
it,
something
yeah.
fun. Just
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of what this project is. Just these two guys got together and we're just having a fucking blast.
Oh, yeah.
Writing this shit and putting
And it
together.
shows.
For sure.
Even when they're having like super deep discussions. I mean, literally, like every episode in one way or another is about death.
Yeah, for sure. And different aspects of it and dealing with it. And it gets really heavy, dude. The last episode was insane.
Oh my god.
And we'll get up to it.
We'll get there.
Because it's bonkers.
It's heavy.
It's different. It's different than the rest.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
its own thing, for sure. But yeah, man. So how much experience do you have with Pendleton Ward before the Midnight Gospel? Mostly Adventure Time?
Adventure Time, Misadventures of Flapjack.
Yeah. How many horrendous images are left in your mind after watching the Misadventures of Flapjack?
Dr. Barber.
Dr. Barber is so fucking scary, dude.
Candy, what's his name? The candy bartender guy?
Yes.
I can't remember his name.
I can't remember his name,
but
but
he's
I
got
remember
candy
his...
wife. Yeah.
My candy wife.
My
and then
candy
it just
wife.
goes
And
to a shot of a
to like,
reel.
yeah,
like
to
a
like
real
stop
looking-
motion.
It's so unsettling. And the lighting is so dark. And everything's so gross and grimy in that fucking show.
Their faces get all wrinkly. And,
He loves to do those like close-ups where it's just like...
yeah.
I don't even know what to call it. Just like they look grotesque. It's so close that they look
It's
grotesque.
so ridiculous, but I love it.
No, it's great. It's great. And then he does that stuff in Adventure Time a lot too.
Yeah.
I grew up on Adventure Time.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
I fucking loved it. I know he ended up getting like uninvolved with it past a certain point.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, like the animating and just like being
He was
the,
just,
the
like,
showrunner.
overseer? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was say, was he pretty heavily involved in like the Distant Lands? Do you know?
Yes, I think he came back to be pretty heavily involved in
Okay.
that. I know he's attached to it for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what degree, but the Distant Lands is great, by the way. So
Yeah.
if anybody has seen Adventure Time and hasn't been wanting to like kind of cross over into that, it's perfect.
Yeah.
It like gives you more to storylines that you wish you
Closure.
had more of. Yeah, closure, exactly. Closure that you need.
Yeah. And then now they're doing Fiona and Cake series.
That's crazy. I know. Yeah, that's a new thing. See, I have to see if he's involved in that too.
Yeah, I know that it's coming out. I just don't know if he's like
Yeah,
attached.
for sure.
Probably, I would assume.
Yeah.
At least in like
At least maybe an executive producer. Or something.
exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, Adventure Time is great. It's its own league. I fucking love that show.
It goes hard, man, and it gets heavy.
And this is kind of that even more grown up version of that.
Yeah.
So diving straight into it, man. What are your favorite episodes? What really stood out to you that you want to kind of get into?
So I mean, episode 1, I love.
That one was a really
It's a really good like opener. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's not like a super heavy topic to talk about. It is a heavy topic. Like,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. Like, not to like, I'm not downplaying
No, for sure.
the
Yeah.
opioid crisis.
Yeah.
But
But they presented it in such a fun fucking
exactly, yeah.
way. Like the what's happening in the world is just really fun and
The one line that Dr. Drew said, he said, "I would rather see a lot of people on pot than a lot
Yeah.
of people on opiates."
yeah. Yes. And I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. They have a little discussion about pot kind of starts there, and then it gets a little bit heavier. They start talking about the pills, and
Yeah.
Duncan even talks about a time he almost fucking
Yeah, he said
was it an overdose almost?
he said he drank benzos and or he said he took benzos
Yeah.
and was drinking, which is like the killer combo.
Yeah, and he's like I don't know why. I
Like
did
that
it.
that's the shit that'll like make you throw up in your sleep.
Yes. Yeah, dude. Fucking Christ. So it's like he's still bringing. It's a really funny thing that's going on, but he's still
But
bringing up.
he brings up his own like mortal connection
It's
to it.
super open and honest.
Yeah.
And I really love that about it.
That one's a really good one for me.
Yeah.
Episode 5 was a really good one for me, the prison episode.
Yeah, let's get into that one because I rewatched that one this morning.
It's intense, man. The cycle
It's
of
like
death.
it's like the
and
platform.
reincarnation. God,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
He goes in and it's like a prison full of like people from other simulated worlds,
Yeah.
and he gets attached to this inmate, and they've all gouged out their tongues.
Yeah. Like nobody can talk,
They've all ripped their tongues out because
and everybody's
it's
just
so terrible.
so viscerally angry in this place. It's like they're beyond
Yeah,
comprehension. They don't really think.
you see this man Bob.
Yeah, Bob.
And-
good old Bob.
As soon as Clancy enters, his food is taken from him, and he immediately just kills the dude that's in his
Murks him.
cell with him.
Murks.
And then he gets killed. But Clancy's tied up inside his
Yeah,
like soul string. He's
Yeah.
got like a leash connected to his soul bird.
all of the inmates in this.
They
in
all
this
have
prison
soul
have this.
animals,
Yeah,
and
and what is Clancy's?
he's his
Avatar.
form.
He's like
He's like a xylophone. He's like a rainbow xylophone.
Throughout the
almost.
episode, if he hits his head, you hear it go ding. Like it's
No,
like
there's
so
a part when
fucking
the
funny.
bird lands on his head and is like walking around. It goes ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, yeah. I love that little.
But yeah, and then so he gets killed, and then we're taken into like the cycle of rebirth, reincarnation. His heart is
God.
ripped out by these like biblically
Just, like, yeah.
accurate beings.
And their animation is like somewhat different. It almost looks like they got all these fucking eyes, and they just with their long nail they cut him open.
They just pierce him, and they cut imagery on top of it. That's
Yeah.
like, I think the one is Prometheus getting pecked apart by like raven or like birds.
It
seagulls.
changes every time
Yeah.
based on the prisoner's perception of what's going on. And I almost thought it was like cycles of grief for a second, too. Because at first it's anger.
Yeah.
They pull his heart out, and it looks like a little dog that's barking and
And
just
they put it on that scale.
enraged. They pluck the bird's feather. Yeah, there's a scale. They put the heart on one side and the feather on one side, and the heart is like weighed way
Yeah.
down. And then we come back to the prison, and Clancy and the interviewee, I can't remember the name,
The bird is.
but it's this bird,
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the bird either.
and they just continue. They're like, oh, we just died with him? He's like, oh yeah, no, you're tangled up in his soul string now. That's what happens every time in this place. They come right back.
They come right back, and they're given time to think about it.
And then it becomes like the fucking platform. It's like an escape prison thing.
Yeah.
And like, he keeps reliving this prisoner, Bob, keeps reliving this scenario, and he has to find different ways to get through it every time. So like a hole opens up in the top cell, then he starts to go through that, but then he dies when he gets there.
Yeah,
and
he
we
gets
restart.
kicked down, shot in the head, and then he's like, oh, okay, I know there's a guy up here with a gun. Dude. It's like Groundhog Day.
Yeah, dude, it's Groundhog Day, but you're fucking dying.
But it's like Prison Break edition.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
and then the imagery keeps changing when he dies. The reincarnation process.
Yeah,
it just keeps changing. He turns to grief.
He starts crying when he comes back.
And then he doesn't want to. He starts not wanting to fight people anymore.
Yeah,
it's nuts. It's
so good, and the entire time, the discussion is based around like the spiritual idea that we are all connected.
Yeah.
We're all part of one big net.
Yeah.
Like, I am you, you are me.
Yeah, right.
As we are we, and we are all together.
Lots of heavy spiritual conversations in this show.
And by the end of, like, on his final breakthrough attempt, where, like, the bird has no more feathers to pluck.
Yeah, after that scene keeps happening.
Yeah.
And the heart also changes.
The heart is getting smaller, and
different things happen between each one.
Because he's letting go of his anger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it gets to the point where he's trying to escape, and everybody that he sees, he's seeing as himself.
Yes,
and
exactly.
It's changing how he's treating them. Instead of just, tackling the prison guard and stealing his shotgun, killing him and your prison mate, and then going up and killing everybody else.
Exactly. To get out,
You take the shotgun from the prison guard, but then you leave it.
Yeah.
And then you take your prison mate with you, and you go up, and you kind of build almost like a army of people that you're going up with.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just very, very like
it goes along with the podcast discussion so well, but it's also just so fucking wacky, dude. There's just so much going on.
Yeah.
I gotta rewind sometimes, and I'm like, what were they saying during this? Because I am so lost
caught
in
the
these
visuals.
But they're great, and that's not a bad thing.
Oh,
I think it's
absolutely.
cool that you can go back and keep getting more and more from it. You know what I mean? But it is overstimulating. There's a lot going on. I'm not saying it in a bad way. I love it.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, no. By the end of that episode, and then the main Bob gets his tongue back.
He gets his tongue back. His heart has become a clock that can rewind time.
Yeah, it's like some JoJo shit, dude.
He rewinds all the way out of the prison.
Yeah,
riding on Clancy.
So fucking good.
It's just wild.
Yeah. And then we get our musical number for the end of that.
Yes.
The end of the episode.
I loved, and speaking of the musical numbers, I loved the musical number for the first episode. Once they all become zombies.
Yeah.
And they're singing about how, it's actually just another form of life.
Yeah, it's like a happy number at the end
they're like,
of the episode.
we actually are all doing very well as zombies. And,
That's
and
fucking
we're
hilarious.
no longer feeling pain.
Oh my god.
And then, like, in the middle of the song, the president is cured of his zombie virus, and the troops roll in, and they're like, Mr. President, we're here to save you.
Yeah.
And they just start curing everybody of their zombie virus, but some people aren't cured, and so when they're turned back, they're just immediately eaten by the people who are still zombies.
Yeah, oh my god. Jesus Christ. And it's just chaotic.
It's so good.
Chaos ensues.
I also really liked I think it's the 4th episode, where he's planning to go to Mercuritaville.
Yeah.
And he gets blown off course, and he lands in this, like, fantasy world, and he meets this lady barbarian.
Okay, yeah.
And she's got, like, the rose.
Yeah. What's the discussion they're having in this episode?
I think they're talking about how to like let go of hate while still like recognizing that like somebody is like
Yeah, I remember this one now.
Because
Yeah.
the plot of the episode is that Prince Jamroll has killed the Lady Barbarian's love.
That's what it is. Okay, yeah.
And she's a love barbarian. She has love arrows and
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
but she hates him. She
Yeah.
wants to kill him. And so like the discussion is about like letting go of like the hate but still wanting to like stop
Yeah.
it.
Right. No, for sure. Okay, yeah. I remember that one. And then next is, well, like you said, there's so many conversations about death in this show.
Yeah.
But I really like when like death appears to him.
Yeah, episode 7.
Yeah, he goes into the blank world first. He's like,
Yes.
I'm enlightened.
Yeah,
I'm enlightened, computer.
Well, I think at that point in time he said that he was done being enlightened.
By the end of the episode.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Well, at the end of the episode, he's like, I wasn't enlightened.
I wasn't enlightened.
I was bullshitting. Nobody's enlightened. What the fuck is that? Which is funny because he does promote spirituality and that kind of stuff. So
absolutely.
he's very self-aware, and I really like that about it too. It's not like trying to be pretentious or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this episode, so then he gets like transported into his like bag of holding.
Yeah.
Like he's got like a bag of holding from D&D basically. It's got its own universe in there.
It's
and
so
he
cool.
falls inside of it. So you keep getting transported into different places. Even in a show where like all of these worlds exist, you're still going to places you didn't expect.
Yeah, well, and then like his dog Charlotte
has got like that
has
portal.
like a interdimensional portal in her belly.
Yeah, love it. Comes in handy at the end.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
for sure.
So yeah, no, that this conversation was really cool.
Yeah, with death.
Yeah, I mean, just this whole like what's going on in this episode is just kind of silly. He went to the blank world, so then he gets a water slide out of his bag of holding, but he doesn't have his hose. He's got to get his hose, so that's why he goes into his bag, and this little like a gnome-like asshole has his hose.
Yeah.
So him and Death are just going to get his hose, really, but he's interviewing Death on the way
The
there.
entire time, yeah.
The fucking conversation in that episode is crazy, and it's mostly about how we view death as a process.
Yeah.
In this country particularly.
Yeah, in America.
In the United States of America.
It's the land of the free. And the home of the brave.
Yeah. I don't know, it makes you think about stuff that you wouldn't really think about otherwise.
Yeah.
And how we view death and how we respond to it, like the embalming process, using all these chemicals and you have to see the body, and it's just kind of how like it became something that you have to pay for.
Yeah, exactly. No, in the 8th episode.
Yeah.
We'll get there, but they mention at one point, I've had calls where the doctors have told me, you need to call a crematorium and ask how much it costs to have your body burned up. And I have called, and it's $750. Thank you very much.
That was like...
That hurt.
Had like a pit in my stomach, dude.
It's fucked up that you have to pay to die. Why?
What are they going to do if not? What if I don't pay?
And go to your family and say pay?
Yeah.
What if they don't pay?
I don't know.
They find you.
They find you.
They find you.
They
Well,
bury you
I'm
and
stuck at their spot.
they bury you and then they come back and they grave rob you
And then they spit on you.
and then they spit on you.
They
Yeah.
cover you back up.
Mm-hmm.
Like it didn't even happen.
Exactly.
Nah, dude, it's just
It's crazy.
fucking insane.
Yeah, the military or like the death industrial complex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how it like started in like the Civil War era, like the embalming process.
Yeah.
and just what it has grown to be
Into,
today.
yeah.
But it's not even like facing the repercussions of like, if I don't do this, if I don't have a funeral. It's like also looking at yourself and being like, okay, you know what, my dad died or somebody close to me died. I'm just gonna hand them off to somebody else, and I don't have to think about it, and I don't have to process it or do anything about it until I see them laying there on the day of the funeral. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they just talk about like, you know, when this happens, it's okay. You know, we don't think about death. We just don't. We don't really do that. I don't.
No, I try not to think about that.
Yeah, no. I'm at a time in my life, especially right now, where I think about it more. It's more of a concern now than it ever has been.
Yeah.
Just kind of where I'm at right now.
Oh, for sure.
And this show really addresses how people don't like to think about that. And but it also talks about the acceptance of it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Which, I don't know. All of it draws to me, especially at this point in my life. It's nice to hear these kind of things.
Oh, yeah.
But back to what they were saying, it's like when somebody passes, it's okay to just sit there and sit in that moment. And who he's interviewing says, she's like, you know, they're not going to start decomposing in an hour. You know what I mean? Sit there and have that moment with them, who they really are, what they really are. That you don't have to send them out to get pumped and put in makeup. You know what I mean? It's just, it's something you don't think about. It's something you don't hear people talk about. So it's really nice to be able to come to this show and hear this conversation.
Oh, absolutely.
And get different viewpoints on it. So I really like that episode.
That one's a really, really good one, man.
And then the next episode takes it like 8 steps further.
Dude, episode 8 like destroys me.
It was crazy. I rewatched it this morning before we were doing the podcast. It's a 36-minute episode, like 20 minutes in and beyond. I was fucking bald.
Oh yeah, dude. No. I watched it last night in preparation for today.
Yeah.
And no, I was sobbing.
Absolutely.
I just couldn't stop.
It really, and I don't know, because I watched this a couple years ago and it did hurt.
Yeah.
I felt that, but I didn't have this reaction that I had. So it's like really, it's at a time, I guess right now in my life where, you know, my elders are getting older. Mm-hmm. This kind of stuff is getting closer, and it's something that I got to deal with.
Yeah, everybody has to face it.
And Duncan Trussells had to deal, like both of his parents are gone. So this is something that he's had to deal with.
Yeah.
And he talks so openly and honest about it. It's just nice.
It's
nice.
such a good just conversation, and like to be able to have that and be able to come back to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because his mom's gone now, unfortunately.
Yes.
But to be able to come back
She's immortalized in this
exactly.
episode.
You can always come back and hear her, you know, talk to you about accepting it and and facing it and crying and moving on.
Right.
It's just beautiful.
It
honestly.
really is. And you know, I don't know what it takes to be able to do that podcast episode in general. So to put it in a frame of reference,
there's no way, dude. Like I could not even imagine having that conversation.
Like how transparent they are with each other is just incredible. And it's
and I love that there are so many moments of levity in the conversation as well.
Yeah.
They talk about how when Duncan was born, he pissed on the doctor's glasses.
Yeah. And you just get this like such a wholesome laugh.
They're just laughing. They're just laughing. And
it's not voice acting. That's what I love about it. Like this is him talking to his mom. Mm-hmm. He actually interviewed her, and just so everybody knows, if you haven't seen it, his mom at the point of the interview was told like 4 years ago that she had 6 months to live from cancer.
She said she's been told that I believe like a half dozen times or something like that.
Yeah, I mean she went 4 years without, you know, anything happening, like any fast progressions, I guess I would say. But a lot of this conversation is how do you How do you deal with like knowing that you're gonna die? It could be any week.
Well, it's not just knowing that you're gonna die. It's
Yeah.
knowing that somebody that you love
Yes.
is going to die.
Exactly.
Somebody who's so important to you.
Exactly.
How do you come to terms with it?
Yeah.
And accept it?
Exactly.
And
It's like it's nearly impossible.
and you get both sides of it, because I mean,
Yeah.
she talks about how she's accepted it on her end.
yeah.
You know, there's not anything that can be done to change it.
Yeah.
So might as well just accept it.
Yeah. There's a good like 10-minute portion about kind of living in the presence,
Exactly. Yeah.
which is really like a helpful thing that she talks about that you can do
Yeah.
to kind of help with these things.
And then you get Clancy's perspective, where or Duncan rather,
Yeah.
where he's asking like, how do you deal with these feelings?
Yeah.
And she just says, you cry.
And that's when a lot of the sobbing starts.
And it's just it's very intense, man. It's heavy. It's heavy talk.
It's very heavy. It is, and it's honest, and that's the best answer she could give. But it was so heartfelt, and it was so. Oh God, I don't even
And the
know,
visuals,
man.
the visuals
Yeah,
for
so
this episode are
fantastic.
because it's Clancy's mom has arrived.
Yeah, yeah,
And he goes to like greet her, and when he walks in, he's turned into a kid.
yeah. Oh my God, it's so fucking adorable.
He
too.
turns back into like a toddler, and
Yeah.
then his mom comes out, and she's young.
Yeah,
And he's interviewing her, and they're going through, and as they're progressing,
yeah,
he's aging up, and so is she.
yeah,
And it eventually gets to the point where like he's helping her walk.
yeah. He's gotten taller than her.
He's
and-
taller than her. It gets to the the conversation about you have metastatic breast cancer,
Yeah,
and she's like lying down. They go like the entire time they're in this like hospital. They're being followed by cat doctors.
yeah.
And
No, they're little bears.
Oh,
they're little like teddy
they are
bears.
bear doctors. I'm thinking of the cat sailors.
Yeah, yeah.
And they go down this elevator, and she gets into this bed and lays down and is talking to Clancy, and then she just closes. She says a line and just closes her eyes,
Yeah.
and it stops. And Clancy is like devastated. You can see it in his face, man.
Yeah.
And then he touches her, and he's like got like a spore or something that travels inside him.
Because all these luminescent mushrooms.
Yeah,
are
dude.
growing
Yes. So yeah,
as she's passing.
She passes, and then these mushrooms all spawn up around her, and it's so beautiful.
It is.
And then we get, when we talk about like Pendleton Ward just kind of getting to draw whatever the fuck he wants to draw.
Yes.
Man. Clancy he's impregnated,
Immediately.
and he's ready. He's carried to term, and he births his mom.
He does.
It's animated.
It's crazy. It's.
That show just brings you back as soon as you get like invested. It just really.
Then you're like, holy shit, it was a check. But it also rings thematically through the episode.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it
The cycle of life and death.
that's
man.
what they're talking about.
And then it
makes
shows,
sense.
it's
Is it a
the
lot
perspective
to
is
watch?
flipped,
Yes,
but then the perspective's flipped, and Clancy's the old man.
yeah,
now,
taking care of
and
his
she's a
mom.
little girl, and she's aging up, and he's aging up.
But also, that's what you do. You outgrow your parents, and by the time it's getting close to their time, you're taking care of them. That's
Absolutely.
exactly how it goes.
Absolutely.
Fuck, man.
It's heavy, man. And then, like, they're having their talk, and we get the moment where she tells him, you just cry.
Yeah.
And they get, like, turned into planets.
Yeah. Like shot into space. It's like they're becoming, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like one with the universe.
They're shot
pretty
into
much.
space. They become like a supernova that forms into a planet.
Yeah.
They're each a planet, and they're hurtling towards a black hole.
Yeah.
And
but continuing.
they're
this
still just
conversation.
having this topic, this conversation about death and coming to terms with it, and they're just getting closer and closer to the black hole. And
Yeah.
you have a moment where she's like, she basically gives her last words to him,
Yeah.
and
They're both by the black hole, and she's like closer.
she's basically saying like,
he's watching.
I might crack away and be I might not be here, but I'm still with you.
Yeah.
And then she falls into the black hole,
Yeah.
and Clancy is left alone.
And that's literally like watching your world disappear, man.
Yeah,
Literally.
it's very heavy.
But she's so, like, this is a legitimate interview from a woman who is so accepting of what's coming. Mm-hmm. And you can hear the calm, the calm,
she's reassuring him.
sweet tone in her voice.
It's motherly, dude.
Absolutely. It's so reassuring. And my daughter was right next to me while I was watching Shrek on my phone because I was babysitting duty, and I knew I had to rewatch this episode before coming here. And this whole episode is the cycle of life and death with your child, and I'm just like looking at her,
You just got her
crying the whole time, and she's just like,
Aww.
That's a
Yep.
nice boulder.
"That's a nice boulder." Yeah, I'm like, Shrek's funny, huh, honey? Shrek's funny. Fucking just looking at her crying.
Jeez.
I think everybody should watch at least that episode of the show.
I agree, for sure.
Grief is one of the hardest things you're ever going to deal with.
Oh, yeah.
And losing somebody that close to you. And I think that episode is just as close as to comfort as you can get.
Yeah.
When you're not like a religious person.
Yeah.
You know what I
very
mean?
much so. Yeah.
Because they're very much spiritual. And I connect with that more personally as well.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty much the same way.
Yeah. And no...
I personally am not
Yeah.
very religious.
So when you're not, and when you don't think you have like a heaven that you're going to after this life, it's really nice to feel this kind of like reassurance that you get from like this episode.
Yeah.
And from the conversations they're having. So holy shit, man. And like this, like we said, this episode feels separate almost. Like,
Yeah.
like every
It very-
episode
like,
is
well-
talking about hefty things, but
And then every episode has a song in it.
Yeah.
And this episode does not.
yeah.
And this episode is way longer than the other episodes.
Yeah, for sure.
He's referred to throughout the entire episode as Duncan,
Yeah. Yeah.
whereas like in previous episodes, one of the people being interviewed will like mess up and they'll say Duncan, and he'll be like,
Who's that?
Who's
Yeah.
Duncan?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. But he just accepts it at that. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh man. I don't know, dude. Like
it's
the whole show's a trip, and it's all full of good stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you got episodes like the zombie one. You got episodes that they're just talking about meditation,
yeah.
and then you got this.
There's there's the Clown Planet episode.
Yes, and that one's a wacky one. Some episodes are funner for just the visuals. Some episodes are like, I'm really interested in this. I'm really invested in more so the conversation that's just happening.
Yeah.
And then that 8th episode is just a perfect combination of both. Yeah. You're like, I didn't feel distracted about what was going on screen. Like I wasn't trying to follow what's
Like
happening.
they'll do little funny moments where they're walking through the hospital and they're looking in through the windows and seeing the bear doctors
yeah.
trying to do something to, because people are sad in this hospital.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Uh-huh.
And so they're trying to cheer them up.
Yeah.
And fill up their heart meter.
And you just see one little, and the bears are cute. You see one little bear come over and just like hug another one. It's just that episode is the peak.
Yeah.
You know, that's everything I think the show was about, boiled down. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
I really can't recommend it enough.
Oh yeah. It's so good.
for anybody who loves podcasts and loves animation, like this is the
If you
pinnacle.
if you liked Adventure Time at all,
Yeah,
then I think you'll enjoy The Midnight Gospel.
for sure, dude. Like, for sure.
Like,
Unfortunately, no plans for
yeah,
second season.
Season 2 is not happening. It is a canceled series. Thanks Netflix. This is why we don't ask for free subscriptions from you, because
This
you
is
can't.
why we shill age.
You can't even
Yeah.
even afford to keep good shows like The Midnight Gospel on.
Seriously, dude. And it makes it even more of a gem, too, though. You know, it's just this 8-episode thing. I can't say I know where they would go after that.
Yeah, with a season 2.
Because that season finale was just, like, so fucking perfect.
Yeah, the way it ends, they all like explode
Yeah.
in the universe simulator, and
Dude, yeah, the end of it. Yeah.
he wakes up in this like Mobius strip plane,
Yeah.
and he gets on this bus, and it has everybody from the previous episodes on it.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And he sits down next to this dude who, I think they make reference to him throughout other episodes.
Yeah.
He's like a spiritual kind of guru type
Okay.
guy.
Gotcha.
Ram Dass.
Ram Dass, okay, yeah.
And he sits down next to him, and he's like, "Am I dead?"
Yeah.
And he just says, "Be here now."
Yeah.
Like, don't worry. Like, that's not the question to ask. Basically,
Yeah.
just
yeah.
be present in the moment.
And that's the whole
And that's how
fucking
it ends,
episode.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where that 10-minute conversation with him and his mom and being present, that's where that comes from. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's such an honest interaction because she's telling him, she's like, feel yourself from the inside. Like,
Dude,
he's like being silly about it too. 'Cause
that
he's like,
whole
I've never tried to
that
do
whole
this.
segment was so good.
But yeah, and it's just,
Feel,
it's also,
feel your finger.
yeah,
Now let that travel down into the palm of your hand.
yeah,
Now up your arm.
right. And it's just another way of her trying to help too. And I don't know, man. I that episode enough. Like I
Like,
can't
yeah.
express enough.
Just with that episode alone, I think it's worth the watch. Yeah, dude, the show is just, there's so many different topics that they talk about.
Yeah.
From like acceptance of death to, the opioid pandemic to like hate and how
Yeah.
that can affect you. And then they talk about, they get spiritual in like every episode.
Yeah.
I think, except maybe the first one,
Yeah.
honestly.
right.
But I think it's the second episode, he goes to, it's either the second or the third episode. He goes to the fishbowl guy.
Yeah, yeah. That was one of
And-
my favorite designs for the interviewees.
Yeah, just the fish in a bowl, and then he controls
So
a whole
fucking
ass
good.
body. They talk about meditation and
Yeah.
like he describes it as magic.
Yeah. So I don't remember this episode as much.
It's a little vague on me because I did kind of just power through them all last night.
Yeah.
But he's just describing magic and how he uses the term magic to basically just describe spiritualism.
Right. Okay.
And-
Gotcha.
How, meditating and just finding a way to kind of, settle your soul
Yeah.
is a type of magic.
That's
And-
crazy, man.
And it's important to do.
And there's so many different ways to look at these kind of things. That's a really unique perspective.
Yeah, I've never
described as, like,
I've never thought of like meditating being like a form of magic.
That's really cool. Is that the episode where they kind of talk just generalities of like meditation as well?
Yeah. Yep.
So cool, man.
Like it starts out and he doesn't say anything for a minute and he
Yeah.
leads him inside and he just is like, all right, here's the pose,
Yeah.
and he like meditates.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then they go through. He buys like a cannon thing from a seller.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll give this to you for 5 cats, and he's like, watch this, I can get it for 3.
For 5. It's so goddamn
He's got a
wacky,
ship full
dude.
of cat like sailors.
Yeah.
And then he gets this like giant, like it makes a giant's arm come out and like melt.
Yeah.
and
Oh my god.
he finds this sleeping giant, and they go inside his ear, and
They do that in so many episodes too. Like there's the giant zombie in the first episode.
yeah, and then he turns into a giant,
Yeah. Okay. This one's starting to come back. to me.
and he wakes up the sleeping giant, and they get into a fight. The sleeping giant is mad because his name's Barry, the fishman.
Yeah, Barry, dude.
He's like, Barry, you slept with my wife.
Oh my god.
And he's just like, you didn't even wake up.
It's so just the sidelines that
Like
they throw
it's
out.
just it's so funny. Just they're having
even
these
wake up.
spiritual conversations.
Yeah.
And they're just interplaced with you didn't even wake up.
Yeah. So that's a good question then. What's your favorite planet? Like what's your favorite setting for the show?
Huh. Let me think about that for a sec.
It's a hard one because there's so many cool fucking worlds, and they're both. I think they're all on par. They're equally fucky. The fucky levels.
I think the only one that's not like fucky is when he goes and sees when he becomes enlightened and he goes to meet the meditating the spiritual dude. I can't remember his name, but he's the computer's friend.
Yeah, right.
I think that's the only planet that's like not absolutely fucked.
What's going on in that one? Refresh me.
He's mad. Clancy is.
Yeah.
He's all, angry.
Is this like about his sister?
It's about his sister,
Yeah.
and it's about the universe simulator like not really working.
Right.
Because he had like the last episode, he had to go steal a bunch of gel to rub on it.
Yeah, right.
And the computer basically forces him in to go. He's like, you should go see my friend, this guy. And he makes him meditate and kind of think about things and let go of his anger and all that.
Right.
And by the end of it, he's like, I'm enlightened.
So that's what leads into him going to the blank world. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm enlightened now, computer. Okay, gotcha. The fucking episode. He's like, Master, you need to, Master. When he starts glitching out and shit.
I can see my eyes, Master.
Oh my god, that's the fucking line. I could not remember. Oh Jesus Christ.
God.
So what do you think, man? What do you rate this thing on a scale of 10?
I think I gotta give it like an 8.5.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a solid 9. I think the rewatch value is totally there. Especially in the super chaotic episodes where you want to pay it, like hone in on that interview really.
Absolutely.
And then like again, it helps you think about what connections from the podcast to the visuals you're really getting.
Yeah.
The more you watch it, solid 9 out of 10 for me.
Nice.
For sure. Go watch this.
Go watch
please.
this. It's on Netflix.
Absolutely. Even if it's just the 8th episode. Watch it.
Well,
That's all we got for
that's
this week.
all we got
man.
this week, man.
Stay tuned for our bonus content we got coming
We got
out.
that D&D content coming.
We got D&D content coming. We got maybe some little video game content
Maybe a
on the
video
way.
game content.
A couple little gamers.
Maybe.
A couple gamers in the chat. We're
Let
working
us
on it.
know.
We're working on it. All right, guys, as always, like, comment, subscribe,
Hit that bell.
ring it. Let us know what you guys are watching. Let us know what you guys are looking forward to. Anything you want us to talk about. We are fucking here for you.
I live to serve.
This was the Storyworks Podcast. I'm Zach Gosen.
I'm Andrew Hall.
Until next time.
Sayonara.